Formula One drivers are sounding the alarm over an increasingly grueling schedule, particularly highlighting the Las Vegas Grand Prix placement within a taxing triple header at the season's end. The relentless sequence of back-to-back races, spanning vast time zones, is pushing the limits of endurance for drivers and teams alike. The Las Vegas event, with its late-night sessions and unique challenges, has intensified concerns about fatigue and overall well-being. Drivers argue that this demanding itinerary not only affects their performance, but also places undue strain on the entire paddock, calling for a reassessment of the calendar to prioritize health and safety. The chorus of complaints about Formula One's jam-packed calendar isn't a new tune, but the 2024 season has turned up the volume to ear-splitting levels. Drivers and teams, united in rare harmony, are demanding change, not just to ease the strain, but to save the essence of the sport itself. With the Las Vegas Grand Prix landing awkwardly in a punishing triple header, the season feels more like an endurance test than a showcase of racing brilliance. The Las Vegas Grand Prix burst onto the scene in 2023 with all the sparkle and glamour you'd expect from a race on the iconic strip, but the fanfare couldn't mask the murmurs of discontent. The late-night spectacle wowed spectators, but left drivers questioning the wisdom of its scheduling, especially as part of a grueling doubleheader. Those murmurs grew louder when the 2024 calendar dropped the hammer with an even harsher lineup. Hopes for a more considerate schedule evaporated, replaced by frustration at the endurance test awaiting them. This year, Las Vegas doesn't just stay in the mix. It leads the charge in a brutal triple header, followed by the Qatar Grand Prix. With Qatar's searing heat and unforgiving track conditions, drivers are bracing for a physical and mental gauntlet, one that seems destined to push the limits of even the fittest athletes. The Qatar Grand Prix earned its reputation last year as a punishing ordeal, with scorching October temperatures and relentless tyre issues pushing drivers to their physical limits. Although F1 organisers are banking on November's cooler weather to take the edge off, the sprint format ensures the intensity won't let up anytime soon. Even with plans to tackle tyre and curbside concerns at the Losail International Circuit, skepticism lingers among the drivers. The track may have adjustments, but the schedule itself remains the elephant in the room. The thought of transitioning from the chill of Nevada's desert nights straight into Qatar's unforgiving heat feels like a nightmare scenario for many. Throw in jet lag and barely enough time to catch their breath, and it's easy to see why drivers are steeling themselves for a week that seems designed to test their limits. Travel logistics have become a lightning rod for criticism, with the colossal 13,000-kilometer gap between Las Vegas and Qatar standing out as a prime example of poor planning. Covering this distance means over 20 hours of flying and battling an 11-hour time zone difference, a brutal combination that's testing the patience of even the sport's most seasoned stars. Max Verstappen, the reigning world champion, didn't mince his words when addressing the issue. "We're almost flying to the other side of the world again," he remarked in frustration during an interview. Verstappen argued that if Formula One insists on triple headers, they should at least be geographically logical. "It's something we need to think about," he added, highlighting the growing disconnect between the sport's global ambitions and the physical toll it imposes on those at its heart. Max Verstappen has not shied away from criticizing Formula One's scheduling strategy, voicing his frustration over a calendar that often feels more chaotic than cohesive. While he recognizes that ticket sales and local interests heavily influence these decisions, Verstappen has repeatedly championed the idea of grouping races by region to reduce the strain on everyone involved. The Dutchman singled out the fragmented placement of US races as a glaring example of poor planning. Miami in May, Austin in October, and Las Vegas in November create a disjointed travel loop that could have been streamlined for efficiency. For Verstappen, such missed opportunities highlight the disconnect between the sport's commercial objectives and the well-being of its drivers and teams. "It's the end of the season, and that's when fatigue really sets in," Verstappen explained, highlighting a concern many drivers share. "When you're worn out, it's much easier to get sick, and flying such long distances doesn't exactly help matters." His words capture the mounting frustration among drivers as they grapple with a calendar that seems designed to test their endurance as much as their driving skills. Alpine's Esteban Ocon didn't hold back when reflecting on last year's Las Vegas Grand Prix, where the chaos of racing under artificial lights and an erratic timetable took a toll on everyone. "Everyone was destroyed after Vegas," Ocon admitted, emphasizing how the demanding conditions left many battling illness from sheer physical and mental exhaustion. While Ocon acknowledged the 3-week break leading into this year's triple header as a much-needed respite, he wasn't overly optimistic. The daunting journey from Las Vegas to Qatar, with its brutal time zones and long hours in the air, threatens to undo any recovery. It's extremely extremely tough, he confessed, summing up what many in the paddock are dreading. Haas driver Nico Hülkenberg approached the issue with a touch of pragmatism, noting that while the packed calendar is undoubtedly challenging, it does attempt to offer some breathing room. A triple header, a week off, and then back again. For me, it doesn't really change much, he remarked, indicating that the grind is something he's come to accept. That said, Hülkenberg didn't dismiss the broader concerns. He acknowledged the immense pressure on team staff, who often bear the brunt of the demanding travel schedule. Looking ahead, he voiced his support for efforts to fine-tune the calendar, aiming for a more balanced approach that respects both the sport's ambition and the human limits of those making it happen. The searing heat of the Qatar Grand Prix looms as yet another challenge in an already daunting schedule. While moving the race to late November might offer some relief, Williams driver Alex Albon isn't convinced it'll make much difference. The conditions could still be brutal, Albon cautioned, reflecting on the toll last year's race took on drivers. He added, "If it's like last year, the race will be even more difficult," emphasizing how the abrupt switch between contrasting climates could amplify the physical strain. It's a grim reminder that even a slight change in timing doesn't necessarily mean an easier ride for the drivers. Mercedes driver George Russell brought a bit of levity to the conversation, quipping that the Qatar Grand Prix doubles as a pretty good weight loss program, but beneath the humor lies a serious reality. Drivers can shed up to 5 kilos during such sweltering races, a testament to the extreme physical demands they endure. Russell didn't stop at jokes though. He highlighted the stark difference in how Formula One approaches extreme conditions compared to other sports. In football, there are water breaks in extreme heat, he pointed out. We drive at full throttle for 2 hours in fireproof clothing. It's a unique challenge. His comparison underscores the intense preparation needed for F1, where endurance is tested as much as skill, often with little regard for the punishing conditions drivers face. The FIA has acknowledged the concerns raised by drivers and teams regarding the demanding Formula One calendar. In response, the governing body has implemented several measures to address these issues. Notably, the FIA has made strategic adjustments to the race schedule to alleviate logistical pressures. For instance, the Australian Grand Prix is set to open the 2025 season, replacing Bahrain to avoid a clash with Ramadan. Additionally, the FIA cancelled the planned rookie race in Abu Dhabi, which was intended to provide emerging drivers with a platform to prevent additional strain on teams and personnel. Furthermore, the organisation is committed to reducing the sport's environmental impact by optimising the race calendar to minimise travel distances and associated carbon emissions, aligning with broader sustainability goals. As Formula One's calendar continues to grow alongside its global ambitions, the voices from the paddock are becoming impossible to ignore. With the 2024 season shaping up to be one of the toughest yet, it could very well serve as the breaking point that finally forces the sport to reconsider how it balances spectacle with sustainability. For the sake of those who live and breathe F1, change seems not just necessary but inevitable. In light of the FIA's recent measures to address the demanding Formula One calendar, do you believe these actions sufficiently balance the sport's excitement with the well-being of drivers and teams? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, goodbye for now.